Welcome to a very special program on 100 Huntley Street. I'm Crystal LaValle, and I'm inviting you to join us as we celebrate National Indigenous Peoples Day. You know, COVID-19 has pretty much canceled everything, but our team rose up in creative ways to take you digitally across the nation to hear the resilient stories from our First Nation, Métis, and Inuit neighbors. Now, how cool is this? We are on the grounds of Queenston Heights, a National Historic Site that commemorates the War of 1812. Now, the war unified distinct people groups against the enemy invasion, preserving freedom for all. Now, this included the Colored Corps, a militia company of black men, and two Six Nation war captains, John Norton and John Brandt. The locals tell us it was the sacrifices of 300 First Nation warriors and their allies that sent the American Army in the other direction. Now, we won't go into details about what happened after the war, but let's just say that's why you and I are here today, to rise up and make wrongs right. Now, our first stop, takes us to Saskatchewan, where we shoot hoops with professional basketball player Michael Linklater.
Hello everyone, my name is Michael Linklater. I'm from Thunderchild First Nation, but Saskatoon is home. So the first time I picked up a basketball, I wasn't good at all. The first team I tried out for, I actually got cut from. And so for me, I was able to use that as motivation. And as I started practicing more and more and putting in a lot more time into the game, I started seeing the benefits, not only on the court, but also off the court, because I was starting to be recognized as the basketball player. And so it was probably around elementary school, maybe going into grade 8 is when I started making goals for myself. And the top goal was playing professional basketball. I'm not very tall. I'm 5'10" with my shoes on. So that was something that I really had to overcome, because usually when we think about basketball players, we think about tall people. I like making reference to a lot of my teammates who are tall. For every one step that they take, literal step, I have to take 2 steps to cover that same ground. So I always made sure that I was working twice as hard as anybody else on the court. And then another struggle that I had was the racism. You know, there was a lot of people here in Saskatchewan that have like this mindset in terms of their views towards Indigenous people. So every step of the way, I was making sure that I was breaking down those stereotypes by being the exact opposite of what people were saying. And being a young parent, I thought having kids at a young age, which is really prevalent amongst Indigenous people, that your goals or your dreams come to a stop, which is not true. And I'm very grateful for my children's mom for being able to support me while I was able to do that. I believe that what makes my story or my accomplishments, that much more special is the fact that I am an Indigenous person, an Indigenous male. So I was given up by my mother because she is an alcoholic. I've never met my father. So I was raised by my great aunt and her husband. And both of them were products of the residential school system. So to have that trauma in the household and seeing what they've gone through, and hearing those stories on a day-to-day basis, that was something that I had to carry with me into life. Now, I was very fortunate because before I came into their lives, they had dealt with a lot of their trauma that they had suffered, and they had turned to their culture, which is why it's something that has been instilled in me. At a young age, I decided that I was going to abstain from drugs and alcohol. And one of the reasons I decided to do that was because growing up here, I heard a lot of racial slurs and derogatory terms towards Indigenous people about all Indians being drunks. So that was something at a young age I made note of, that I wanted to grow up and be drug and alcohol free, so that kids, not only mine, but anyone of Indigenous descent, could grow up and say, that's not true because I know somebody who has never drank. Growing up through the 80s and the 90s, you heard a lot of these racial terms. So that was something that I grew up with, and it was a little bit difficult. But as I got older and through my culture, through my ceremonies, I really started to understand that racism was just coming from a place of unknowing. I think if people took the time to see how beautiful our ceremony and our culture is, they would really see how beautiful of a people we are.
He gets it to Linklater. Linklater looking to drive off the glass, gets it to go. Saw that a lot of times a decade or so ago at the University.
The only person who can stop you from achieving your goals is you. So drop the excuses and just start putting in the work and working towards your goal and doing what you want with your life.
Fundamentally, at the very root of the programs that we're launching with the Articos Foundation, what we're essentially trying to do is reawaken a sense of dignity.
Check out Michael Linklater's website to learn all the ways he's inspiring Indigenous youth globally. Now, our next story takes us to Winnipeg, Manitoba, where a First Nation woman discovers a new talent, and she uses her talent to bring joy to many.
It started as an experiment. I had all the beads and I didn't know what to do, and I had all this time. Couldn't go anywhere, can't travel, can't see anybody. So I got on Pinterest just to see what I could create. My first one, I wasn't quite so happy with it, but it takes about a day, maybe two. It depends on the mask and the pattern in the mask. I get a paper and a pencil and just start drawing and erasing and figuring it out, because the designs that I have in my mind, you can't find them on the internet anywhere. So their masks are pretty much personalized individually. I didn't know what to use for filter material, so I had to get on the internet and look around. Blue shop towels made good filters. I said, okay, I'll try it. I'm not Métis. I'm from BC, from a band called Mount Currie. I saw the group on Facebook, the Métis mask makers, and I decided to post one of my masks on there. 10, 12, probably close to 14 now. And most of the masks I've made have not charged, because this isn't the time to be charging to begin with. You can do it. You can do anything you put your heart to.
Gina, this mask is amazing. Your actions and your attitude during this time period in history is bringing joy to so many, including my life. Thank you. Keep up the great work. And I know that these feelings of isolation due to weeks of physical distancing has been hard on all of us. But I want us to remember what the remote Indigenous communities must be going through. Our next stop takes us to Aklavik, Northwest Territories, where an Inuit elder shares how his experiences in residential school kept him in addictions for decades. But I also know that his story isn't beyond the reach of God's love and transformation.
I was born in Aklavik, a little community in the Mackenzie Delta. We lived out on the land. My parents were hunters and trappers, and all the sustainable food came from off the land. They thought that Aklavik was sinking into the Delta, and they picked up a lot of residents there that moved over to where Inuvik site now is, as to where I grew up and went to school and met a lot of my friends. We were supposed to not say nothing, see nothing, hear nothing, and say nothing. A lot of us lost our language, a lot of its culture, and during the early 50s, it still is hard. November 18th, 2011, I had a couple of cannabis joints and some vodka, but I couldn't take a drink because every time I leaned over, I had constant nosebleed, and I was down to about 110 pounds. I phoned my sister. We admitted upon entering the hospital there. My other sister came to visit me, and she said she has never in her life seen anybody so close to death as I did on that day. It was either continue on my lifestyle or let God do the rest. Last year, after 7.5 years of being sober and dealing with the residential school, my addictions, my character defects, and now I got a lot of empty space in here that I've got rid of and not to fill it. The Lord is doing a good job of that. I got a beautiful grandchild and beautiful daughters, and God has blessed me very much in the last 10 years. My older brother would say, Archie, you're with your daughter and your granddaughter, and that smile, it's real on your face. I just pray to God that a lot of my friends see what I've accomplished only by having God in my life. To look back on Archie 10 years ago, I don't like him, but I love this new Archie. He's different. If you don't experience God, you haven't experienced anything yet. He died for us. Who would do that for me? He still loves me today. I'm happy, and I can't take the glory for that. I give it to Almighty Savior.
The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit.
A goal will heal a broken soul, and I know one day I'll achieve it.
Susan, it is so good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm really good, Crystal. I'm good. How are you?
I'm not too bad. You know, I think the serious question here that I need to ask you is, do your pants still fit?
Nope. And I'm doing so good not ordering online. Just, I'm just making sure that I don't start collecting too much of stuff that it's going to change in the fall or whenever we can get back to work again. And I've been doing really good.
Oh, well, good for you. I heard there was an influx in, workout clothes. People are working from home, so nobody's buying clothes. They're just buying stretchy pants. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, on a more serious note, I know, the entire world has changed. How are you processing with this new normal that we're living in?
I don't know if I can speak for all sectors, but certainly in the creative world, in the artists' world, we have lost a lot of our work. Actually, we've lost all of our work for the next year, foreseeable future. But because we're mostly a self-managed, independent bunch of artists, we've used the time and utilized the time. I certainly have to kind of reassess what's that next part of my life going to look like. And I've been focused with the foundation work, the charity work in Nunavut, and that's changed. We have to look at how that's going to change, how we offer that program and facilitate the program. But even for myself, I've taken the time I've needed to really start reconnecting deeper. And I'm just using the time now to get better.
Susan, for those who may not know like you have this incredible heart for Indigenous children and youth, which led you to start the Arctic Rose Foundation. For those who don't know what that is, why don't you give us a little bit of why you started it and what the realities are that these children in the North face?
One of the things I learned quickly was that there really there were no charities run for the people by the people. There's very, very few. At the time that I started looking into this, there was nothing for Inuit. A good friend of mine, Mary Simon, and her husband, Whit Fraser, started up the Arctic Children and Youth Foundation. So I agreed to sit on there in an honorary capacity, again, to sit back and see how to run a foundation, for one thing, if that's the route I was going to go. So this combination of realizing through the volunteer charity work, narrowing down one group has a charity, but it's not doing the work, I realized we're going to need to do a lot of this healing work. And so that became the pursuit. We now have a very broad mandate, safe spaces for Northern children and youth. And so that's safe emotional, physical, cultural, spiritual spaces. Also, what it allows us to do is, so we have a program running called the Messy Book Program, which is essentially art therapy. But part of safety is where children are coming to us from homes that are not safe, and if the parents ask, well, let's work with them as well. So we're looking and very open and very flexible to work with 2 or 3 generations, which I believe is the best way we can work to heal several generations at once.
Susan, how do you do your programs? How does the mission, how does the mandate continue during COVID-19?
So like everybody else, we had to just shut down travel. We couldn't deploy artists. We have guest artists traveling to our communities once a month for a week at a time. We were able to squeeze in one more training session before everything was shut down. So we had artists that we had trained and comm workers that we had trained. We had our last, what we call check-ins. We had a check-in every Friday with them. And so since early April, late March, we were doing check-ins regularly with the comm workers and with the guest artists. What we do there in the check-ins is just, mental health check-in with everybody with boots on the ground. They're there, they're seeing this, they're witnessing this. And what do we offer them as takeaway supports? So the artists were invited to host a 1 hour, what's your art this week? And here's an online art you can do. With supplies you have access to, which we know in our northern communities are often very limited. And we're going back to the drawing board with whatever funding we have now, because now, of course, funding's changed for charities. So we're looking at what's left in terms of program funding and how do we turn that into programs online, virtually in the community. Our current crisis is we're not sure they're getting enough food. We're looking to get a pocket of funding, COVID funding, to supply the snacks that they were getting every day in the program, and art kits with art projects so that they have something to do in terms of expression, mental health, basic practices in their homes for them, and a snack for them as well. So we're working on that right now.
What would be your ultimate dream goal for this?
At the root of all of our work, as basic as the work sounds, is if we can give you a snack a day so you don't have to go beg for it somewhere else, but we're helping a little bit recover that sense of dignity. If we can offer that Messy Book program and basic mental health support so you don't have to go begging for somebody to hold you while you cry, well, we're recovering a bit of that dignity. So that's the very root of the work of the Arctic Rose Foundation. Every child should have access to those possibilities. So I think the target is every child and every youth and every adult that wants that program. That's who we want to offer it to.
Canadians across the country can make a difference in the lives of children and youth and families in the North just by providing these basic elements. So I just want to encourage all Canadians who are watching the program right now that you would just go to the website at the bottom of the screen and go ahead and make a donation to the work that Susan and her team are doing, because this is Canada, this is reconciliation, and this is what hope looks like in the midst of a global pandemic.
Susan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me back, Crystal. Thank you.
I love Susan's confidence in continuing her outreach to children, youth, and families, and I am convinced that our loving actions, our generosity, and our prayers can right the wrongs. And that is exactly what Crossroads Outreach Ambassador to the First Peoples, Bev Hadland, and myself are doing. We have not let COVID-19 slow us down, but we've been prayerfully keeping our eyes and ears open for the needs in the community. And one community let us know their food bank was low on supplies, so what did we do? We safely delivered them. Take a look.
I'm so excited today because Crystal and I are on a mission. Bring food, non-perishables, to a food bank up on Cape Croker First Nation. Now that's a 4-hour drive north, and we've never been out of town yet, but I checked with our member of Provincial Parliament, Sam Oosterhoff. We had a great chat yesterday. He's a wonderful man, wonderful man. Anyways, he said, by all means, you go, you drive. We're in separate cars. We're doing the social distancing, no touching on the other end.
You know what? If one store doesn't have something, you go to the next, because this is persistence.
I got all my gloves, got a whole box of them, got my sanitizer, got my own personal, I like these better than the mask.
Excuse me, ma'am. We have apples, toilet, paper towels, pasta, 2 kinds of pasta, popping corn. Did you buy a hot dog? Did you buy a hot dog?
God bless the manager, because you're only allowed 2 cases. And I said, it's for Cape Croker Food Bank. And the manager came over and he said, that's a good thing. They didn't ask for this, but Splenda comes in little packages for those people.
Well, we're here at the halfway mark.
Is it halfway?
We just had to gas up 4 hours one way.
And it was on sale, and you got I got you 2 boxes.
Excellent.
And then these little things. Yeah, here we go.
So, what's your secret to looking so vibrant and young, huh?
Keeping busy. I love doing serving. And that's one of my gifts, is serving and providing what I can to help people. We would love to have our own building and our own setup, because as you can see how we've transformed the community center for during this pandemic. It's going to be a few months, probably, maybe more, and we needed a larger space.
Marie, why do you do this?
For my community and for the love of my community. I can't believe it that you brought so much in the small vehicles that you have. And look how much stuff. You must have just been packed.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Love you guys.
Yeah, okay, you too.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Because of your prayers and your support, Crossroads has been able to reach 170 Indigenous communities across Canada. Come on! Now we've been sending them art supplies, face paint, Bibles, journals, fresh produce, whatever the need. We are committed to being the hands and feet of Jesus. One community we've been getting to know better is the Blackfoot Nation in Alberta. I was in awe of how this 20-year-old with a severe heart condition won a gold medal. Take a look.
I got that name by these two elders in the community, Spike, being a speaker. I actually got it just I was about to go to Brazil to compete for the first annual World Indigenous Games down in Brazil. So it was such a huge honor and just very blessed to get a traditional Blackfoot name, and I felt so powerful and whatnot. Growing up, I had a really great childhood with my cousins and friends and brothers and sisters, but I started to feel anxiety and depression at a very young age. You know, like I lost a few cousins to suicide, you know, the ones who I grew up with. And then I hit a critical point in my life where my dad passed away in my senior year of high school. And of course, I kind of turned into that negative lifestyle just for a few months, just to cope with my dad's loss and whatnot. But, you know, I came to a point where I was close to suicide, and luckily I didn't, because, you know, my younger sister was there at present, and, you know, she told me, as I was intoxicated at the time, saying, you know, what do you want in life? And I pretty much told her that I have this one goal, which was become an Olympian someday. And she told me to, you know, write it down in a book. And so I wrote it down. You know, that summer, you know, around like June time of 2015, I got diagnosed with a severe heart condition. I would get these heart spasms, these heart sharp pains, and these electrical pains or whatever. And, you know, it's kind of rare that, especially at my age, get it. And I was, you know, my confidence, my self-esteem, my depression got hold of me, and I pretty much didn't train. They told me just, you know, like reduce your physical activity. And so I did that, and I got a call, you know, around like mid-July, late July, asking if I wanted to represent Team Canada at the first annual World Indigenous Games down in Brazil. And of course I said, well, why not? To me, it's probably like one of the most difficult races in my life. There's about 250 runners from all over the world, and then I kind of noticed that people went out too fast. I was like, okay, this is a good point. I'm gonna stay behind that group, and so I did. And then when it comes to the second kilometer, everyone just kind of like gassed out from they losing their energy, and they went out too fast, and maybe the heat was getting to them because it was getting to me. And then, of course, I started leading the group, and there's about 6K to go. It's a 8K race in total. And so in my head, it was like, okay, I'm in first place. And it came to the last kilometer. I didn't want to look behind, and in my head was just like, don't mess up, someone's chasing you. And sure enough, I break the tape, and it was just all went to my head, and I'm like, oh my gosh, did I seriously win a gold medal? And, you know, 20 years old, I never thought I'd be a world champion. You know, in our Blackfoot language, there's this word called igakimat. Every time I think about it, you know, I use that word like every day in my daily life. It's called, you know, try hard. And of course, you know, it's, you know, we all like resilient people, you know, like we deal with racism on a daily basis, and we don't let it control us. You know, we have our good days and bad days just like everyone else, but, you know, just got to keep moving on, striving for that goal. A goal will heal a broken soul, and I know one day I'll achieve it.
Thank you for celebrating National Indigenous Peoples Day with me, and I hope these stories gave you a greater understanding of our past, as well as the beautiful people that make up our country and the work that still needs to be done. You know, it says in the Bible that God created every tribe, tongue, and language as an expression of his heart. Hello, diversity is his dream, and you and I are a part of that. And as we heard earlier today, that nobody is beyond the reach of God's extravagant love. So this is my prayer for you, is that you and your family will be filled with his love and his joy every single day. Well, we would love it if you would stay connected with us. Would you go to our website, firstpeoplesvoices.ca. You can sign up for our e-letter, as well as check out our YouTube page where you can watch these stories again and again and share them with your friends. I know that together, you and I, we will see a movement of hope and reconciliation arise right across this nation. Thank you for watching.